Hi, I'm Dr. Hilary Heschauer from Rangeline Chiropractic. Today, I want to talk a little bit about what it means to maybe delay your caffeine in your coffee intake in the morning. This all comes about because we are starting to introduce Element into our office. I'll show you what it looks like. And it gives like more electrolytes and sodium balance. And so I came across a great article. If you're interested, I'm happy to send you the article. Just reach out to me. But it talks about like delaying your coffee in the morning. And I thought, oh, I've never thought about this. So the article is very interesting. It talks about, the caffeine effect on your body and how it blocks a chemical in your brain called adenosine that would normally bind to the brain. And I thought, oh, that's interesting. I didn't really know what coffee did and like why. But normally the adenosine like builds us over time, like during the day. And that is what is going to help you be sleepy at night, right? For your sleep time, your circadian rhythm. But when the caffeine binds with that receptor, it slows it down so you're not as sleepy, right? So that makes sense. We all know that about coffee and caffeine, but there's some factors that depend on like when you should drink your coffee, such as what time of the day, right? How much of the coffee you drink, and then how your body does at metabolizing. So we're going to talk about these kind of like 3 points to that. But they call it a half life of coffee, which I mean, maybe you've heard of it, maybe you haven't, like me. So for instance, if in the morning I drank a cup of coffee, let's say at 8 o'clock, it has 100 milligrams of caffeine. 5 hours later, there's 50 milligrams of caffeine still in my system. 5 hours after that, there's 25 milligrams left. So, if for some of us that maybe we can't drink coffee after a certain time of the day because it keeps us up later at night, now you know why. The half life goes, it like decreases over time, but 5 hours is quite a bit, to be honest. So, it talks in this article about the negative effects of caffeine. So we know that obviously it can keep us up later at life, and now we know why, because the half life of coffee. So we're staying up a little bit later at nighttime than we want to. Maybe we have a hard time getting asleep because maybe we had coffee at 5 o'clock, and so at 10 o'clock you still have half of that amount in your system. There's also some science behind caffeine and coffee like tolerance, meaning it like builds up and it takes you longer and more coffee to get the same effect. So it can be a very like cyclical cycle of that. So if you've ever noticed that you're drinking more to get the same effect, you could even stop for a while and kind of break that cycle. But in this article, they talk about delaying your caffeine for about 90 minutes after you wake. And so the idea behind this is to allow the adenosine to bind in your brain before you block it with the caffeine. So that way you can later at night get to sleep easier and get in your sleep cycle and your circadian rhythm better. I thought that was kind of interesting. So I'm personally going to try it. They also say that this might help prevent any crashes later during the day when you're like the 3 or 4 o'clock slump because you had the coffee and now you feel like maybe you need more again. I don't know if anyone's felt that way before, but I definitely have. But when you delay it, it could mean that your half life of the caffeine is also longer, right? So if normally I usually get up at 5:30 or 6 a.m. and I delay it for 90 minutes, later during the day is going to be the half life, right? So keep that in mind. You know, there's like one caveat to it, right? That like, yes, that might help with the adenosine binding for sleep, but also you're going to have more in your bloodstream like later. So keep that in mind too. Um, but other negative things of caffeine that I'm sure a lot of us know is just like the jitteriness. It can cause like stress and anxiety. So for some people that are already prone to stress and anxiety, perhaps the caffeine isn't the best solution for them, and to look at something else. So like thinking, why are you using the caffeine? Is it to get you through the day? Is it just because you like the warmth of it? I found some really great recipes with this Element brand, which I'll share later, but you can make like hot, almost like almost like a tea, and so it can maybe mimic the warmth that we like from the coffee. I know how that's how I feel. I don't necessarily feel like I need the caffeine, but I do enjoy like the whole experience of coffee, or perhaps I should go down to the decaf just so I can have the same experience and warmth. So something to think about that. Although decaf still has a little bit of caffeine in it, doesn't it? So benefits of caffeine, for instance, for like athletes, caffeine helps with like endurance, strength, stamina, and then it also can help with our focus and our mood, our behavior, like how we feel. So there's obviously some great benefits to caffeine, and then there are some risks, or excuse me, some studies that show it could lower the risks of some diseases and even like prevent mortality. I didn't really go into detail on those articles, but again, I have this whole article that I can give you guys, and you can find all the links and hyperlinks with it. So yes, caffeine has good benefits. Caffeine has negative benefits. But one thing that I always thought, and I maybe it's just like an old tale, but that caffeine causes dehydration. So this article is telling me now that it doesn't really cause dehydration. It has like some effect, but it says it's not very powerful as far as dehydrating. And I was like, okay, good to know that you're not going to lose a ton of water, but um, you know, something to think about too. But yeah, I really thought my whole life, like I used to have this thing in my mind, like if I had 1 cup of coffee, I would almost need like 2 extra cups of water to like help out with my loss of hydration. But apparently not as bad as I had thought. So in the mornings, we all know that we need water, we need to hydrate. But the makers of Element, they really talk about maybe we need more than just water. And sometimes the water can like be flushing out more electrolytes that we want to give up. So, especially sodium. So they are big fans of sodium. And I realize like some people with sodium issues, it's maybe not the best thing. But there's other electrolytes that we need. So a lot of people I see in the practice have like muscle cramps, weakness. I mean, just like general like muscle tightness all the time. And electrolytes have always been a friend for us in chiropractic work because it just goes hand in hand. So we will start celebrating, excuse me, celebrating. Selling and using Element at our office. So next time you come in, hopefully we'll have some samples out. But overhydration can lead also to brain fog and fatigue. And I was like, I've never heard that about overhydration. So again, if we're overhydrating, we're pushing out electrolytes, we're having more muscle cramps and fatigue, and then even headaches too. So more reasons to supplement us with electrolytes and sodium. So what I'm proposing is to delay the coffee intake 90 minutes. I'm going to try to start doing a packet of electrolytes for Elements every morning, delay the coffee if needed, and then see how I feel, because most of us, including myself, like we're just super tight all the time. We might have a lot of stress in life. We might be working out. And then, although some of us don't work out in huge sweating fashions, like I do Pilates and, do I work up a sweat? Yes. Is it as much as when I used to do CrossFit? No. So the people that are really sweating a lot are losing so much of that sodium. They definitely need to be putting it back in their system, and Element's like a really great way to do that. There's no sugar. So I'm a big fan of Element because there's no sugar, and we just don't need any more sugar in our lives, do we? So try some Element every day. I'm going to try that. I'm going to try to cut back on the coffee. I'm going to do the 90-minute wait and really see how I feel. Maybe even document a little bit. So hopefully I can come on and tell you guys how it's worked out for me. One other great thing I learned about this is that for some people, I get this complaint when I tell my patients to drink more water. They say, well, it makes me have to get up and go to the bathroom at night too much. So Element, because of the sodium in it, that can actually like prevent you from having to get up and urinate as much because it really holds all the water in. So another great thing to maybe do at night before you go to bed, you're getting some of your electrolytes in. It will help with like the muscle cramps and fatigues that you have at night. Has anyone like woke up with like a leg cramp? I'm sure it's not just me. Leg, foot, calf, all of that. So another great time to use the element. I find that it's very salty to me because I'm not used to that much salt. So I water mine down more and I make like a bigger jug that I just drink off throughout the day. So another idea for you. Hope that you've learned a little bit. Again, reach out to me and I'm happy to send you this article that I have. It has some great links in it too, and I can send you a link that has hyperlinks too. Have a great day.